from the Huntley Library. Welcome to Teen Crafternoon. On today's episode, we will be making a paracord flower knot, which you can use to either make a bracelet or a keychain or something of that nature. So we'll gather up some supplies and we can get started. Alright, here's what we're going to need to make our paracord flower knots. You're going to need some kind of paracord. There's a sort of chunky variety. This is the 550 paracord, so you could use that. There's also a thinner version. This is 95, I think it was. So that's a possibility too. If you don't have paracord, you could use string or yarn or even embroidery floss. And depending on the thickness of the cord, you're going to need more or less of it. If it's thicker, you'll need more of it because your knots are going to be chunkier. So I'm going to be working with this thicker paracord today, and for our bracelet, I'm going to make a bracelet, so I need enough to go all the way around my wrist. You're going to need one shorter length and one longer length. So for my shorter length, this is the color that's going to be covered up by the knots, the petals of the flower. You're going to need about 2 or 3 feet depending on the size of your wrist. And then for the longer piece, I'm going to be using this purple, and you're going to need about 10 feet of that. And don't worry if it's too long, because you can just trim off the edge or the ends at the end. When you cut paracord, it often pulls back like this, and then you have this sort of fluffy piece that's on the inside, and then there's an outer portion. And then this can continue to fray at the end, which can shorten up your cord considerably. So what you can do to prevent this is to use a lighter. This is like a fireplace lighter, or if you have a smaller lighter, that'll work too. And if you're not comfortable doing this step, have an adult person help you with that. And you just want to burn the ends of it and melt it. It's kind of a plasticky material, and then this will stop it from fraying. Be careful not to get your hand in there or touch it while it's hot. So it made a nice little ball there at the end. So you can let that dry. If you want to, you can also press it to, looking for something that I can use to do that. So you can press it to remove some of the plastic that's on the end. So that won't fray anymore. And that's a technique that we're going to use at the end too, when we cut off the extra pieces. So if you're comfortable doing that, you can use a lighter to stop your fraying, and that should be it, and we can get started. Oh, one other thing. There are all kinds of ways that you can make bracelets and keychains, and you can actually buy some of these are little clips to use to make bracelets, so that each end of your bracelet would be attached to these ends, and then there's a clip in the middle to separate those, so you can get them on easily. You can also just tie a knot, which is what I'm going to do. And for keychains, there's little ring attachments like this that you can tie your paracord onto and then attach keys to. And then there's also these little clips too that you can use with paracord bracelets or keychains. Oops. Focus. Alright, so those are some optional things that you can use too. Alright, let's get started. Okay, so we're getting started here. We're going to make a loop up here at the top that's about in the middle of our section of paracord. So make sure that that's even, and you can adjust this a little bit too once it's in place. So you've got our little loop there, and then you're going to take your longer piece of paracord and find the middle of that. It's too long for the frame here. So here's where my middle is of that, and then you are going to stick it through the center there, and then pull the legs of the purple up through this little loop that you created, and then you've got, I guess I call this a half hitch. or cow hitch, something like that. A cow hitch, there we go, cow hitch knot. And then you can adjust the length of your legs for the base color that you have here, the shorter length of paracord. You just want to make sure that that's even so that you don't run out on one side before you get to the other. And what I'm going to do is leave this loop here so that I have a way to close off my bracelet at the end. So that is what that looks like. And then we're going to tie a series of knots on both sides of these to form our next set of petals. Okay, and we want to split all of these pieces of cord so that we know where everything is. Mine is going to try and slide off the table. And then we're going to start on this side over here, and we're going to go over the top with the purple cord, the longer piece, and then come up through this hole right here. So that's half of our cow hitch knot, and to make the other half we're going to come under with this same purple one that we were working with, and then come through the loop from the top, like so. Whoops, and then don't let your your loop at the top become too compressed. Okay, so now we're ready to do the same thing on the other side. So, alright, we're going to attempt to do the same thing on this side. So we're going to come under, and then poke through this little loop. And tighten that up. And then over, and then poke through this loop. Did you see that? Over and poke through. And then tighten that up. Oops, and now I've lost my big loop. And we're squeezing and tightening all of our little petal loops together. Okay, and then we're going to make another loop like we did up top here, down at the bottom by crossing these two pieces. And then we're going to bring these two strings through that bottom loop to make the last part of our flower. So let me get my hands in order here and I'll show you. Okay, so we're going to form another loop like we had on the top here at the bottom, and we have our long cords down the middle here, and we're going to come up. We'll start on this side, so we'll come up and through and across both of those where that two pieces come together, and then we're going to do the same thing on this side. So we're going to come up, it's so long, and then down through here and pull this through, and then tighten all of this. So you can pull on the silver, or you can pull on the short pieces and on the long pieces to tighten all of that up and make it nice and neat. Don't tighten this part up too much. Hopefully it won't be as much of a problem once we move on to the next segment. So now we've got something that's starting to look like a flower or some petals. And if you push these little knots right here down a little bit so you don't see them, then you'll have all of your little petals. Okay, we do not have to create another loop for the top petals. This is going to be our top petal section, so we just need to do the side petals. So we're going to come around on the side again, and the purple cord is underneath, the long purple cord is underneath the shorter silver cord, and we're going to come through this loop here and then tie that off, and then come okay, these are going to be our top two petals for our next flower, so we're just going to create the petals on the side now. And so we'll be doing what we did before. We're going to come with the longer purple cord on this side, we'll start on this side, and come over the top of the silver cord, shorter silver cord, and then down through here. Okay. And for our second part of that knot, we're going to come underneath this shorter cord and then down through the top here. And then pull that tight. And then we'll do that on this side. Okay, so we're going to come over this shorter silver piece and through to make the first half of that. And then under the silver piece and then through, and then pull it tight. Yay. And then we have to make this bottom loop again. Okay, to make those bottom two petals, you're gonna cross over your two shorter strands so that they are gonna be joined together. And then we'll start on the right side here. And this comes up over the crossed pieces and through this little hole right there. And pull that tight. Make sure it's not twisted. And then the same thing on the left side. We're going to come up over those crossed pieces. Whoops. Try not to pull them right out of view. And then through this little hole right there. And then pull that through and tighten it up. So I can pull on all of the pieces now to get that really tight. Okay, and then we've got two flowers on our chain. So we're just going to keep doing that until it is the length that we want it to be. And for, depending on what your purpose is, like a keychain or a bracelet or an anklet or something of that nature, it'll be longer or shorter. So I'm going to continue doing my knot tying, and so are you. And then I'll come back and show you what it looks like at the end. Okay, here's my completed daisy chain paracord bracelet thing. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 little flowers on there, and this just barely fits around my wrist. So if you have, I guess there's no way for you to tell, but if you have a larger wrist than mine and you're using this chunky paracord, you might want to make this smaller piece a little bit longer, just so you have more to work with at the end here. With paracord, since it's kind of plasticky, you can tie a knot and burn the ends with like a lighter or a match or something fiery to get it to stick to itself, and that will seal off the ends. So I'm just going to tie a knot right here and do that. I'm not doing it with the longer pieces because I'm going to do another knot with those to tie the bracelet to my wrist. If you're not comfortable with fire, or some adult in your life is not comfortable with you using fire, then yeah, don't do this step. Just tie your knot, or have a responsible adult do it. But I have a fireplace lighter here, which I'm going to use. Oops. Maybe. There we go. Just to melt down the ends a little bit. And once it's a little bit melty, blow that out. You should be able to use something. I've just got a little piece of cardboard to kind of stick it to itself. So it's kind of flat and stuck to the side of the knot there. You can see that. That's going to be a little hot to touch for a while, so be careful. Also, while it's still pliable, you don't want to pull on this knot too hard because you might cause it to come undone like I did when I was trying to demonstrate this before. So now I've got this other side that I can also melt a little bit. Careful to keep your fingers out of that. And then I'm sticking it down. You can see how melty that is. Okay, and if you want to give it a minute or so for it to cool off before you do anything else, that is a good idea. Don't put your fingers right on it. This is also good if you've cut your paracord. Like at the ends here, I did this. I burned the ends too, so that they wouldn't unravel. Because the outer case, like the color part, starts to unravel, and then you've got this. Let me see if I can show you. Yeah, like here's the blue piece that I was working with, and you can see on the inside there's sort of a white piece, and then this other, the blue is woven around it, and this all starts to become frayed and get messy. So you can burn that before you start working with it, so that you don't have that problem. Okay, so I still have this loop on the other side, and my loop has both grown and contracted as I've been messing around with this. So what I could do is just put this around my wrist like so, and then feed an end through here to tie it on like that. And I could leave this longish so that I can get this off easy, and just depends on how easy you want this to be removed. So then I can just trim it like right here and then burn the ends, and then it'll be easy to take off. And I think that's what I'm going to do. Your other option is to tie some kind of knot in the end with the purple part. So say we just did something like this. Leave a knot, and then you could cut the ends here so that it doesn't fray, and then you can use this knot. Make sure your knot's small enough to fit through, somewhat small enough to fit through this loop that you've got, otherwise you're going to have issues getting it on and off. There we go. So say I did this knot, then you can use that as your closure. So I'm going to do the tie it on method. So I'll take that knot out and just leave enough of my remaining purple cord here to tie it on. So I'll trim about here. I'm leaving maybe 3 inches or so, and also going to burn the end. You can see it better now on these, what it looks like with the, see, it started to fray immediately. I feel like this one was under pressure or something. Whoops. Come on. There we go. Melt, 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 melt. Yep, so it's nice and plasticky there. And this can be a little stinky too, so if that's gonna bother you, do it outside or in a place with good ventilation. And be careful not to stick this down on your table or any surface that's going to be injured by the melty bits. There we go. I hope you had a successful experience making your paracord flower knots. Mine turned out pretty good, but it did take me a little while to get the hang of the cow hitch knot. So if that's also your problem, then I would recommend practicing that a few times before you dive into the bracelet itself or the keychain or whatever you are chaining together. But I hope yours turned out well. Please join us for more Teen Crafternoons. You can check out our website for more ideas, www.huntleylibrary.org, or just subscribe to our YouTube channel for all of our newest videos. Thanks, and see you next time. Bye.